Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Adam Price, Neil Cosentino, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
Morning.
Good day. I'm very well. How are you, Neil?
Very well.
Jolly good. Now, in the pre-show, I've been in a very misogynistic, sexist manner, calling the recent events chicks in space, but I'll probably get told off for that. So I'll reuse different language and call it the empowered, beautiful ladies in space fair that we're currently dealing with. So, as I've discussed in the pre-show, my wife, who is pretty much a normie, approached me about my feelings on the Katy Perry and various others in space and what I thought about it. And my suggestion to her was that, well, I don't necessarily wholeheartedly get behind 100% of the narrative that's being presented. In other words, a very kind of even-handed, slightly weaselly, non-committal answer that alluded to the idea that I think it's all nonsense, but without necessarily saying it in such a blunt way. And almost before I'd finished, she was pointing out to me that everyone in mainstream normie world thinks it's fake, and they're not afraid to say it, which is quite amusing. So typically when these things come out, they disappear fairly quickly for us, right? We point out the nonsense in it, well, not necessarily us, but the stereotyped flat earther will point out the nonsense, and the anomaly hunters will get their teeth into it from the conspiracy side, if you want to call us that. But not the normies, right? They just watch it and they might moan about it being boring, which is what I pointed out with Dr. Grande's immediate response to it. Snoozy, boring, nonsense that isn't particularly advantageous to anybody. Why is there such a big deal about it? Why are they potentially stealing valor was the other thing that was covered last time we got our teeth into this. But since then it's unfolded into society having a little gander at this stuff and going, hang on a minute, why does this look so shoddy? What gives? Why is this being faked? In other words, it's not just gone under the radar of your average normie. He or she is starting to actually pay attention and notice, from what I gather. Now, with that in mind, Eric DeBay did what I would call an exceptional summary. I will also do a honourable mention, or give an honourable mention to Flat Earth Banjo, because Banjo affirmed what my wife had said to me, which is to show all of the different clips from TikTok or YouTube and prove to me, not, beyond any reasonable doubt, but to the point where I'm happy to say it with a fair degree of confidence now, that is the case. Like, general normies are noticing how bad that fakery is from Bezos. I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know why that's happening now. And I don't see that we should be typically covering this beyond the day or so that its lifespan typically would have, because there'll be something else soon. But here we are, because of the normie recognition of it, and it's no different to how we would cover it, right? The normies are covering it how we would have covered it if we were to cover it, which is weird. So there we go. It's a weird turn of events. And for that reason, I've put a link to Eric DeBay's video, which we're going to be covering today, because it just so nicely summarises what I've just summarised in a video format with his reaction to it. So we're going to bounce off Eric Debay today, and there is a link to Eric Debay's video, Winging Its Way by, if I could speak, my live stream chat right now. So if you are in the live stream chat, I know we've only just started, there's only 20 or 30 people watching, 25 currently, heading on up. Good. Please do actually pop along, if you haven't seen it already, to Eric Debay's video, which is called, should really know off the top of my head, Katy Perry kissed the ground and she liked it. A spin on I kissed a girl and I liked it, right? So there we go. So we're going to be covering that. Please do pop along. Oh, videos numbers are going up. 37 people watching, so there is a fair number of you to actually make it worth Eric Debay's while in respect to getting a few extra views on his video. If you haven't watched it already, while I'm doing this call to action, please do pop along to Eric Debay's video called Katy Perry kissed the ground, ... and she liked it. And just let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, really appreciated your very brief, because it's only a 5-minute video, summary of the Bezos and, what did I say, strong and empowered women in space coverage. So thank Eric Debay for his coverage. And yeah, good. And just on a slight aside to this, for those of you who are leaving me messages saying that I'm the only one left, I'm like the only flat earth standing, there's a term for that. It's called wishful thinking. You know who you are. Anyway, any comments on this before we do actually get into it for realsies? Anybody seen this? Eric Debay video, that is?
It's not that you're the only one standing. It's the only one relevant standing that's speaking the language that we are speaking.
Nah, that's not what people are saying to me. They're saying, look, this person's gone, that person's gone, you're the only one standing. You're like, giving me half a dozen examples of shilly-type flat earthers that have always been a bit of a pain in the ass to begin with, that we've often opposed, disappearing, and then saying, I'm the only one left. You're like, I'm going to go with no. Although it is particularly egregious, the level of censorship that this channel is currently under. So if you are in the live stream chat, there's just under 50 people watching. Please do smash the share button for this show. It's all well and good me sending you to Eric. He's doing all right with the numbers. I'm doing terribly, got to be honest. So yeah, it's particularly egregious, the level of censorship currently bestowed upon Flat Earth Debate and indeed the Nathan Oakley 1980 and Nathan Oakley channels, respectively. So please do share this show. There is only one share button that you need to click twice. A couple of smashes of that click on your mouse and you'll get the show out to your favourite social media platform, be it Bebo or MySpace or the outgoing Skype, whatever it is you use. But please share the show. Hopefully we can get 100 people watching. And I think the reason for the egregious censorship of this channel currently, more egregious than ever, I might add, is because of this. Is because of the nonsense that the general public is recognising. Maybe they kind of knew that this would prick a lot of... There's nothing on screen. I'll go back to the beginning in a second when I'm finished talking about it. Just there's something on screen. We'll have the penis rocket on. Do you think this looks real? No. But yeah, I think it's because there's so many people asking that question from the normal public. And if they do happen to find me because they haven't put the complete kibosh on the channel, then they'll hear me talking about flat earth measurements and Neil saying the N-word, you know, things like that. Anyway, should we get into it?
This week, Blue Origin, an Amazon Studios partner, is making headlines for allegedly sending 6 female celebrities, including Katy Perry, into space. Unfortunately for Jeff Bezos, and thankfully for the rest of humanity, the masses are finally starting to see through these fake space shenanigans, and even mainstream media sources are pointing out obvious anomalies with the new footage. To begin with, pay close...
Anybody notice that there was a towel there? I just noticed that somebody had put a towel down ready for her to kneel and kiss the ground, like it was already preordained. They knew she was going to do it. They didn't want her to have dirty knees when she stood up for the cameras, so they put a towel down for her.
Close attention to this circumcised phallic rocket ship.
Yeah, right on. Nobody's mentioned it. I did, and so did Adam, and we mentioned it last time we covered Bezos missions about a year and a half ago. But the feather is also just a subliminal dick.
And how strange the video appears, even at a casual glance.
Yeah, it does. That was the first thing I said also. I'll just back him. It looks like it's come out of a computer. It looks rendered. Because it probably is.
The rocket is very crisp compared to the background, appearing superimposed, while the fire beneath the rocket contrastingly looks very low definition, making a muddled video that looks like something straight out of AI or an Unreal Engine video game. The entire trip, from launch to landing, lasted only 11 minutes, supposedly sending the celebrities.
He says only. Right, I had to scrub through it when we covered it last because I found it so intensely boring. And again, I noted that Dr. Grande, he keeps being my example because he was the first to react to it in my subscription feeds. And he was like, Snoozeville, boring. You're like, 11 minutes? Yeah, 11 minutes too much. It's just utter boring. And again, last time we covered this on Friday, I think it was, I was talking about The Simpsons in the 90s. You know, a mathematician, a statistician, and another mathematician. And Bart and Homer are fighting to get the batteries back in the remote to change the channel so they'd have to watch another boring space launch. And that's kind of how I felt about this when we were covering it. I was grateful that we could scrub through it. So as much as Eric DeBay's like, oh, it's only 11 minutes, you're like, seemed like an eternity to me.
Is 350,000 feet high. Even
off surface level, Eric. Yeah, that's something you need to start getting up to date with the flat Earth debate, Eric. You need to start pointing out where they're measuring a flat Earth. All roads lead back to a flat Earth, and in this case, they're utilising their height off surface level, their measured height off sea level, to describe a curved horizon through fisheye lenses Eric DeBay is going to get into. It's like, where does the measurements come from? You've just dictated it to us in the video. If you're going to give a feet off the ground, you should point out that it's a measurement off surface level. Flat Earth requirement, it's a prerequisite for this measurement.
mainstream sources have reported how the zero-G effect experienced for about 3 minutes of their journey is not the result of the women being in so-called microgravity, but
there is no such thing as being in microgravity. Orbital motion, to be in this perpetual falling around a sphere, is a description in mathematics. A description that gives you the heliocentric motion that's only ever mathematically capable of being described from within a sphere. So if we just go to this, let's put this on screen. This is where you will describe heliocentric orbital motion from. Where I'm pointing my mouse is the centre of hell. Whenever you look at the line that the ball Earth that's claimed mathematically to be moving around the sun moves along, that line goes through the middle of the ball. It's because the angles that are utilised mathematically when measured off a flat surface become this point in the centre of the ball to give you the reifiable heliocentric motion that gives you zero G. It isn't a reality that's possible beyond the maths. It's not capable of reification because to be moving in an orbital motion, you must describe it from within the ball. This is for Eric. I want Eric on our side. Yeah, I'm definitely not the last man standing, but Eric's definitely on my list like it previously was Jaren. Now, I've got absolutely no in whatsoever with Eric. But when he's talking about heights off sea level and orbital motion, he needs to know these things are flat Earth proofs. As his numbers whiz up and up and up. 22,000 views in the last 22 hours. Good for him. I'm extremely jealous. This is a guy on my side, right? Eric DeBay's like us. Here's where I don't mind stereotyping. By association.
rather happens the same way a parabolic zero-G airplane flight creates a free-floating atmosphere. As the plane or rocket approaches its peak altitude, during its peak, and for some time afterwards, this weightless effect is achieved because the passengers inside are essentially free-falling at the same speed as the craft, while
Yeah, very dangerous. I remember Dilly Gill covering it, where they can extend the zero-G parabolic manoeuvre to fake the ISS and various other things that they had back in the 90s, with this technique being used extensively before NASA. They've got a lot more lazy and a lot more low budget, and they'll just stick them straight on high wire without the terrible and expensive need to stick a rocket up. But when they do these zero-G manoeuvres on the Vomit Comet, or in this case on Bezos' piece of crap that probably didn't even go up, right? If it is to be taken as read that they did do this manoeuvre and fall through a parabolic arc, therefore creating an impression of weightlessness, then that would be but for the fact that they've described their height in the parabolic manoeuvre with respect to a plane, that they've got their height off, so they don't crash into the ground when they pull up. Not that Bezos did that, but the parabolic manoeuvres in the zero-G comet, they require a surface level to measure, so they don't crash into the ground. Yeah? That's how it's measured. It's not measured with a great big 8 inches per mile cavity opening up ahead of the plane, obviously, because that would give them a lot more wiggle room for manoeuvring in this pretend zero-G parabolic manoeuvre. No, they're measuring the height of the plane when they do the manoeuvre with respect to surface level. Like all planes. Like we'd show in the black box data, flat earth proof, whenever you mention an aeroplane. Just want to get all of the absolutely unequivocal flat earth prerequisites and proof tagged onto Eric DeBay's video. Please let Eric DeBay know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because as far as I'm concerned, he's missing the ball. Is fumbling the ball the correct term when there's the ball slipping through his fingers? There's flat earth proof on the table and it's not getting mentioned. Is fumbling the ball the right analogy? What's the word? Metaphor.
Dropping the ball.
Yeah, you could say fumbling the ball or dropping the ball.
It's just like there's meat on the bone. I don't want to be too critical of Eric DeBay, you know, all hail Eric DeBay and all that crap. But by the same token, I do want Eric DeBay to mention this stuff. If he's going to talk about heights above surface level, parabolic manoeuvres, and orbital motion, there's plenty of flat Earth meat in there, isn't there? Should all get mentioned. Am I wrong to be this hypercritical? Am I being hypercritical? Why am I second guessing myself?
No, he's got to get on the same page. He has to start chanting from the same page.
I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, but it's just, if I was Eric DeBay, I'd if the stuff that could have a flat Earth proof directly tied to it, that's unequivocal and cannot be argued with, it's like, what are they going to say? No, we're not measuring our height off surface level. Yeah, they are. That's in all of the reports. They need a flat Earth just as much as we do, because that's how Earth's measured. But if it doesn't get pointed out, then nobody will know. So, you know.
Right. You started this campaign saying, want to get everybody singing from the same hymn sheet because it is absolutely a flat Earth proof and indisputable.
Yeah, they're using it. So why not point out, well, in order for you to describe your elevation, to describe parabolic manoeuvres, to not crash into the ground, or mathematically reify an orbital motion, you need to measure a flat Earth.
While enclosed. Meanwhile, just like when Blue Origin did their same publicity stunt with Dude Perfect, the horizon is filmed with a fisheye lens out of an already slightly curved window, giving everyone at home the effect of seeing a convex horizon, which, with the rise of the Flat Earth movement, is likely one of the main reasons we keep seeing these media-hyped space publicity stunts in the first place.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's evidence to show that the normies are doing the same thing. So in Banjo's video, there was a couple of people that he'd clipped from, I assume, TikTok, who were saying exactly that. It's like, none of this benefits anybody, but the only thing that's getting mentioned is that they saw the curve of the Earth from the window. Really? How interesting that that's the only thing that they're drawing attention to, beyond them holding up buttercups and kissing the ground.
When the capsule finally lands, it hits with a very jarring impact, kicking up huge clouds of dust, which the announcer casually glosses over, claiming to be a, quote, soft landing. Rather than having ambulances and medical personnel close by, instead it's just Jeff Bezos and a film crew standing around.
We are kind of covering feast and nonsense in this regard, right? He hasn't been to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. The area above their head that was black is claimed to be a vacuum. Well, all of the gas they're looking down upon, if it's claimed to be real and you take it as read, would dissipate into that area of volume if you accept the narrative of a sky vacuum that they're travelling to. Doesn't matter how close they get to it, this vacuum is described from surface level that's flat. When they go up at altitude, flat Earth proof. Let's get that out of the way. They're measuring a flat Earth. Okie dokie. When they go to a area that violates the second law of thermodynamics, a violating second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum doesn't exist. So they just went up, if you take it as read. But the rest of it, you can keep. This door nonsense, who cares? This is so we talk about the stuff on the ground. So we don't talk about how fake the stuff in the sky was. We talk about how fake the stuff on the ground was.
Around waving at them through the windows. Note that these women are wearing slim, sleek suits with no helmets, and one of them, Gail King, is 70 years old.
Why do they need to be in a container? What's with this? Why have they got this white stuff? Like a capsule, I think they called it. Do they call it capsule? The thing that looks like the head of a penis. The thing that they're floating around in, the bell. Yeah? Why do they need it at all? Right? Why do they need this? Is it so that the gas that they're all breathing, this yummy, yummy air that they're floating around in, doesn't escape into this black area they're alleging is a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum? Is that why they're in a capsule? Yeah, if that was the case, that you've got this ever-expanding vacuum going off into infinity, then the gas, this stuff here, would dissipate instantly into that area of volume if it was a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr. We can just see it through this window in this bullshit narrative where there's a space called outer space that's claimed to be a vacuum. Garbage. Yeah, in the same way, if it was real, they would also, need this capsule to keep the gas inside them? Yes, so would the ground below them. Gas would disperse into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum if the narrative of a sky vacuum is to be believed. But if we question the door, we're not questioning the sky vacuum.
While waiting for the right moment to open the pressure-sealed hatch, one of the passengers...
The what sealed? Pressure sealed? Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? So it's got to be sealed so that the gas in the narrative doesn't escape from this penis-shaped capsule. Okie dokie. What about the gas they're looking down on? From the capsule, if you take it as read, they went up there. Is that all cool and cushy, not dispersing into the outer space sky vacuum? No, that's a straight-up violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Entropic dispersion in this instance. Gas fills space. Where did they go? Space? Why did they need a capsule? Yeah, to keep the pressure in. But the gas below's all good, it don't need that.
then makes the huge blunder of opening the capsule's flimsy door all by themselves.
Why does it need a door? To keep the gas in? What about what was out the window? Second law of thermodynamics violating gas not filling space? Let's worry about the door.
Jeff Bezos and his female partner outside the capsule...
Who cares? The outer space sky vacuum is fake.
See this and immediately shut the door.
That's why we're lingering on this, yeah? This is where they want us focused, on the ground. Not in the fake Narnian area above our heads they say that they can travel through to get to the moon and stuff. No, best that we focus our attention to what's happening on the ground. Yeah? That's what magicians do. Don't look at what's going on in the right hand. Look at what's going on. Look, I'm waving this handkerchief in front of you. And people are like, oh, maybe they didn't know they were live. No, it's a comedy of errors, so you critique what's happening on the ground. So you don't look at the sky vacuum violating the second law of thermodynamics, the black area that the gas isn't filling. You worry about the pressurized door opening on the ground. What happens if they opened it in space? Would the gas in the capsule all have leaked out into the space? Oh, but the gas below them won't, right? The gas below them won't leak out, but they need a door to stop the gas they're breathing in the capsule leaking out. I see. Yeah, that makes no frigging sense, does it? You need a container for gas pressure. Let's all worry about the door on the ground.
Telling the women to wait inside, and can be seen laughing and grinning ear to ear afterwards due to their flubbed exit. Once the embarrassment wears off, Jeff then uses his special metal tool supposedly needed to open the hatch, which limply opens inwards like an old screen door. Compare this to actual pressurized seals, which generally open outwards from the outside, not inwards from the inside, and require some...
Why have we got pressurized doors at all? Should we not point out that the whole point of having these doors pressurized, sealed, against pressure, is so that the gas doesn't vacate into the space? But they're looking down on gas that isn't filling space. Yeah? That's the point of this, isn't it? Don't look at what the left hand's doing. This is a metaphorical handkerchief being waved in your face, so you don't look at what the other hand's doing.
Serious strength to open. Once the women step out, each of them gives the most disingenuous, cringeworthy, girl power speeches, holding back fake tears, calling themselves astronauts,
I think they're all very brave.
and acting like they have done something wonderful for feminism and women transformers in general. Katy Perry kisses the ground and repeats how she feels so connected to love now, while Amanda Wynn talks about how healing the trip apparently was for her. For those aware of how the secret societies behind this space fakery use numerology and symbolism to communicate, the numbers and symbols for this mission are clear to see as well.
Yeah, but in their symbology, they want you to believe that there's an area 10 to the minus 17 tall where the stars reside that you could travel to. That's the whole point. It's right there on the patch. So let's talk about whether or not it looks like Baphomet. Now let's talk about the sky vacuum on the patch. So they're pretending to go to this bit. Go ahead.
Nathan, he's latching on to everything we're not supposed to latch onto. What's going on?
I think, but we can only help point out to Eric DeBay where there's flat earth proof that he's missed. Or let's just not say he's missed it. Let's say he's left it on the table. And that there is, absolutely without question, the assertion that there's a sky vacuum above our heads. But we need to worry about the pressurized containers and how they function on the ground, rather than the fact that if they're up in a sky vacuum and the gas-filled space, therefore we need a door. Where's the door around all the gas we're breathing? Oh, we don't have one. Go ahead.
This is the concentrate on door gate.
Yeah, it's
Gotta love it.
Door gate. That's a bit of a weird one. 94 people watching. Woohoo! Thank you to all of you who smashed the share button. Really appreciate it. The only reason we've got a 94 strong audience is because people have shared the show. I am in it, absolutely no doubt. The kibosh has come down on this channel literally in the last couple of weeks. Worse than ever. So I'm very grateful to all of you who do actually share the show. That is definitely why we're edging up to 100 viewers.
The mission patch, viewed upside down, reveals a clear Baphomet, the goat god of Freemasonry, with 3 heads on either side, giving 33, the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Masonry.
Okay. But the whole point of the patch is to show that there's a sky vacuum that they're travelling to in a rocket ship, isn't it? That's the point of the patch. Yeah?
Then you have the mission number being NS-31, and if you watch the time during the live takeoff, you will notice it happens at exactly 1:31 p.m., or 13:31 military time. Since 31 is 13 backwards, NS-31, taking off at exactly 13:31, gives us 3 13s, 13 being the number of degrees in York Rite Freemasonry.
They also measured their heights off sea level and surface level. A flat Earth prerequisite that proves Earth is measured flat by them when they measured it, to give you those informational tidbits that required a flat Earth to measure. On the other hand, there was quite a few 13s and 31s in there, so I guess this is also a focus we could take.
Their blue suits and the Blue Origin Company are also a nod to the so-called Blue Degrees, or first 3 degrees of Freemasonry.
Who gives a crap? The sky's not a vacuum and they measured their height off flat Earth. I mean, at the start, I was praising Eric because I do remember the opening and it being good. But towards the end, I do now remember this and thinking, God, I just rolled my eyes the first time, but now I'm criticising it for an audience, and I'd seem disingenuous if I wasn't moaning about this bit. Summarised with how they measured a flat Earth and how space is fake. Outer space, the sky vacuum. Talk about pressure, not the door.
Nathan, we're the last one standing.
Yeah, but for some people, this is the opening. This is the gateway into what we talk about every day, right? So, like for somebody like Candace, she would probably focus on this type of shit more than we would, right? So you gotta. I mean, I understand what your frustration, Neil, but like, yeah, we talk about what we talk about. Let other people do what they do, right? Because the message gets to different people in different ways. Some people have different ways of opening up to this shit. Feel me? It's not like a clear...
No.
Negative.
No. Negative.
All right, I mean, go ahead.
Is this the best way to relieve dry eye? It's called steam therapy, and it's quickly gone viral on social media.
I was like
No, I disagree because, okay, I'm going to agree and disagree. Yes, people will find their way through their opener to the subject with stuff like this. Shit like this, as you put it, end quote, you chocolate. Yeah, but if I don't demean it, when they get here, assuming that they've, scrubbed their way through a lot of nonsense and feast of nonsense waffle to get their way to us, or moreover, one of my live audience members like now has shared their show with them, and then they found their way to us, and they're hearing now, if this is a hypothetical scenario where that's happened, me talk about how they measured their height off surface level, a flat earth prerequisite that proves the ground can only be a flat surface for that measurement to even exist. They hear that and go, bloody hell, that's wonderful. And I'm saying it in terms of what should have been the summary to that video. Now, just imagine for a second that Eric had said that in the video. Like at the 3-minute mark, rather than moving past the sky vacuum and into door gate, said, this height in feet is off surface level and can only and will only ever prove Earth is being measured as a flat, planar surface with heights off surface level. And then to further summarise, all measurements with respect to Earth will be with respect to sea level always, as will be the reference for the flight that took place, proving beyond all doubt that Earth is measured flat. Would that have more or less impact on people's understanding of how Earth is flat than the suggestion of the Freemasonry, which we will get into because I'm being not chastised, but corrected from the chat by Paula, that no, it's no joke, and I'm not trying to demean Freemasonry as being a joke when I say that, to me, the more pertinent overarching point is that Earth is measured flat in these examples. Therefore, I must demean Eric's attempts to elucidate those facts by pointing people in the direction of Freemasonry rather than flat Earth measurement. I will criticise that.
Yeah, lock it down first. Then you want to get into all that other stuff, that's fine. But lock it down.
Yeah, but aren't we the ones that say know that it's measured flat and then just you can move on with your day after that?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So, I mean, that's what
Not
we're
for
doing.
all, for some.
Right, you can do whatever you like.
So,
let Chocolate make his point. Go ahead, Chocolate.
no, I mean, it's not just a clear one path for everybody. That's all I'm saying, right? Some people need to get into this by realizing the moon landing wasn't real, or some people need to understand that, NASA's lying about whatever, right? Like everyone has got their own path into this shit. So I don't knock people who go into this. And Eric Dubay, like he's done this before. It's not the first time. He hasn't focused on the measurements. He's gone into other shit. This is what he does.
Yeah. Okay, I don't disagree. Right,
really.
You're talking about people sliding along the edge of that blade, but the blade must have a tip, and we're at that tip. When it comes to us pointing out what's critical in this subject discussion, the measurements of the surface are the critical aspect. So if you get here by fair means or foul, and we don't talk about that specific detail, then you won't have reached the tip of the spear. Now you're saying, well, you can't have a tip if you haven't got the side of the blade to slide along initially. Yeah. Why can't it all be the tip?
Yeah, well, every blade is going to have that tip, right? Unless you have a really funky blade, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand the criticism that we got because I have the same ones when I listen to it. I listened to this yesterday, right? Obviously, I have the same ones, but at the same time, I try to calm myself down. Like, all right, some people might need this little path into where we have landed. That's all. That's my only point.
Fair enough. Right, shout out to Bible U from the chat who's shared this with us. We'll go through it now. It's talking about a Freemasonry subject to bring a greater degree of focus where I've been critical of it. Now, I'm all for being enlightened with regards to the importance of Freemasonry, but I will still always stand by the importance of knowing that Earth is measured flat first and foremost. Therefore, my critique stands of debate regardless. of there may or may not be a necessity to point out the Freemasonry aspect, the hoax code that we do see, and I will, when appropriate, praise, debate, and Russian vids and others who point these things out where appropriate. But it will not change my criticism. First tell them it's flat and prove it to them, if that's what your channel's about. Then talk about why and where and who and how.
The youngest guy in the lodge by 20 years. And this guy comes forward and he says, we're going to lead you through this oath. But it's this long, involved, and ultimately blood-curdling oath. What none of these men understand is that deep down inside there's this very dark, evil energy. I would go up to these guys that have been in the Scottish Rite forever. And I
Oh, wow. This has got dark real quick.
say, okay, I'm now a sublime prince of the royal secret. So what's the royal secret? And again, this is something that probably only 1 in 1,000 Masons in America understand. Is that the royal secret?
Dun, dun, dun. Do we want to get into this? Or should I share it and let people watch it of their own volition?
Is that a different video? Did you
Totally different video. So
jump
this
to
is...
something else?
Yeah, I'll stick it out for people to watch of their own volition because it's quite long. So this is former 33-degree Mason reveals the darkest secrets of Freemasonry. And it's by Almost Fallible, is it? Almost False. There we go. So Almost False is the name of the YouTube channel, and I'm going to stick a link to them. So if you did want to pop along and validate just how serious a business it is to be Freemasonic, you can check that out from Almost False, who have got almost 200,000 subscribers. So obviously no small potatoes from Paula. Thank you for the link, by the way, Paula. Really appreciate it. But no, we probably won't cover this today. We will get to the end of the last 30 seconds of Eric DeBay's, or last 15 seconds of Eric DeBay's video. But not before I shout out this super chat. Shout out to Flat Out Fudge. How effective is just the tip of the blade if you're trying to penetrate beyond decades of brainwashing? Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm agreeing with Chocolate in the respect that you've got to have a blade to get to the tip. But it doesn't change what the tip is. We are the tip. So we're going to be hyper fanatical about people getting to the nitty gritty quickly. Getting to the flat earth proof bit quickly. Yeah? Don't mince your words. Yes, there's more to it. Yeah, there's all sorts of occultist nonsense that you can point out after the fact. But after you point out it's flat, beyond all doubt, so the guy watching knows that as a fact, with evidence that's given to him by the people that are being critiqued. In this case, their measurement off surface level. They're giving it you, use it. Now me, I'm even more extreme. If you're doing that in my presence, I'm going to tell you off. Don't use my measurement. You're going to describe your height off surface level. How dare you? You get on your knees and worship the flat plane of reference you measured for your height, Katy Perry. That's what I'd say to her. You know, don't be telling me you're going off a surface level that's curving, because that's nonsense. Doesn't even make sense as a sentence. It's a contradiction in terms. Anyway, you can check out that video on Freemasonry, but moreover, I'm more keen for my audience to actually let Eric DeBay know that we've covered his video. I don't want the lasting taste for Eric DeBay to be that we just don't want him to talk about Freemasonry, because that is not the case, hence me sharing Paula's video immediately that she suggested from the chat. My point is that get to the nub of the main argument for people, and that's that is Earth flat or not? Are they showing us the horizon and telling us it's curved because they want to deceive us about the actual nature of Earth? Yes. Should we get into why? No, let's get into how. How do we prove it with this measurement that they're using off surface level? That's how we prove it.
Finally, the mission was named New Shepherd, as in herding a new flock of sheep, which is clearly what they are attempting to do.
I agree with. At least she ended strong.
I was
This
just going to say the
all-female
same
crew.
thing that I'll agree with.
Yeah, I'll agree with, leave it to Eric to make sure he's satisfying every member of his audience before the end of his video, me included in this instance. Yeah, absolutely, this is for the sheeple, but that's what makes it most, that's why I wanted to cover this. Remember now why I covered it, because I'm like halfway through going, why, this is annoying. I'm telling Eric off, that's not the intention. But right at the end, he's redeemed himself beautifully for why I wanted to cover this video. It's not for the sheeple. Yes, it's for the sheeple, but they're all running amok saying it looks fake. So they're not getting in the pen, and the dog barking at them's not doing anything. Bezos being the dog.
Trying to make a new generation of women.
I like this thumbnail too. This is like The Dish. If anybody wants to, I'm not going to do it, but if you want to as an audience member, Google The Dish, an Australian film. And this is kind of a bit like a thumbnail. It's got a TV in a field with a whole load of sheep around it, looking at the moon landing on the TV. Very reminiscent of what's on screen now. But Eric, for anyone just listening to this, has got this sheep looking at a TV screen with the blue marble on it. And the caption is, "Ballers be like proof." Very good.
All hyped up for these supposed space achievements.
Very good. So yes, I'll do it one more time, but please let Eric DeBay know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed, although I can't imagine anybody, although people from the opposite side do go along and do as I am suggesting, but just from a Ball Earth point of view to share their pain rather than help Eric in the YouTube algorithmic love, which he does anyway, even if you're sharing your pain with him in his comments. But do toddle along to Eric DeBay and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that just alludes that we have covered his video. Don't necessarily tell him you should have really pointed out that the flat earth got measured off sea level, but it's up to you if you did want to do that. Obviously, I'd like Eric DeBay to be in the know in that regard. I'm sure he is in the know. It's just there's a useful opportunity to point it out when they start measuring their heights off surface level. Might as well point it out they're using our flat earth measurements. So why not utilise it back when they're in their videos? That's my attitude. Anybody disagree?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
now, how much more powerful would that video have been if as soon as he gave the height, he pointed out how it came off surface level, laid it down flat, the way it's supposed to be, then you get on to all your other stuff. It would have had such more of an impact, I believe.
Yeah, completely agree. There'd have been a lot more impact on terms of people recognising the flat earth that's being measured by them. What are they going to do? Deny that their height's off surface level? They specifically quoted it. 110 people watching. Woo-hoo-hoo! Massive thank you to everyone who shared the show. Really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please share the show. It's like 2 clicks. It's really easy. Yeah, so that was Eric DeBay. Katy Perry kissed the ground and she liked it. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I say personally, I hope they keep doing this because it doesn't seem to be working out very well in their favor. So, please, NASA and Blue Origins and Bezos and Elon, keep going. I'm loving this, to be honest.
But they've got to fake it. You know, the technology hasn't suddenly come on leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. So it's just Bezos faking it, where NASA typically play their cards quite close to their chest. So you're not calling them out. It is intentionally boring. This is a full out sending celebrities up into space. And then you've got the eyes of the normie masses on it. Because it's got their favourite celebrity in it. If it's, you know, your...
yeah.
So they're all calling it out for nonsense. That seems like a dangerous game to play. Why pass that over to Bezos to do? Why not just have NASA keep doing it the way they've done it already? Cards close to their chest. It's rhetorical. There isn't really an answer. But it does directly make people start to question NASA. Or if Bezos is faking it, why wouldn't they just do the same at NASA? Again, another sentiment from one of the videographers picked out by Banjo. Maybe they want people to notice.
It wasn't just us. Look, Bezos lying too. If it ever comes to that. And look, he did it right in front of everybody with their stupid big wrench to open the door that supposedly could be opened from the inside by these women in space. If they just happened to bump into it during all the research they were doing while floating around and blowing flowers into cameras and whatever research they were doing, because that was research.
In my mind, that's 100% intentional. That gaffe is intentional. They've pre-planned to have a towel ready for her to kneel down on the ground with her flower in hand to kiss the ground. Telling me they didn't rehearse whether or not who was going to open the frigging door. Of course they did. It was prearranged. That gaffe was there to be noticed. An intentional error. Part of the script. That mistake is part of the script. Like when one of the producers was moaning about Top Gear. I think it was actually Tesla, one of the Tesla guys. They're like, we put our heart and soul in this. We picked up one of the scripts, and it's in the script that the car runs out of power and breaks down. You're like, yeah, because it's all contrived. Of course it's contrived. It's contrived! But anyway, that's what they want us to focus on. That's what people are focusing on. The door being opened. It's a complete waste of time. The sky's not a vacuum. Space is fake. Their height was measured off surface level. Earth was measured flat. Earth will always be measured flat. There is no other way to measure Earth. Earth is flat. Space is fake. Nobody's going to a place where the gas that we're breathing at high pressure is not filling, in violation of a law of nature known as the second law of thermodynamics. Entropic dispersion laws dictate that the sky is not a vacuum. So outer space, where they say they're travelling to these lights like the moon, they're not. It's all lies. The world's not a sphere. We're on a flat plane and we must be contained to be breathing pressure. Oh, I'm glad we cleared all that up. But yeah, do you agree? They wouldn't have a towel ready for her to kneel on the ground and not have worked out who's opening the frigging door.
Yeah.
No.
It's really nonsense, man.
Furthermore, they wouldn't have left it in. People are like, oh, it's live. You're like, oh yeah. Oh, were you there? Were you with your camera? You filmed this live, did you? Live, my ass. You're telling me you can't just remove anything you like from these and then re-edit them after that? Yeah, of course you can.
It's so cringe, to be honest. Like like I would feel so crazy to be a glober, someone who would make myself have to believe that all this nonsense they're showing me is real. Like, I would feel crazy. I mean, like, why is it every time they're supposed to be doing something, it looks weird, it looks fake, they're doing messed up things. Like, it just doesn't pass the smell test at all. None of this. Like, if you believed, you live on a ball. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're catching so much backlash.
All right, we're going to check this out. It's been posted. It's one of my own videos. This is Yale Entropy and Gas Law Debunking Outer Space. And I will put a link to this in a moment.
Describe to you the first law of thermodynamics. The context was, we're going to study a system. That's our thermodynamic system. And for all our purposes, you can imagine that to be some amount of ideal gas trapped inside this piston and cylinder combination. The gas has a certain pressure and a certain volume, and we represent that by a point in this diagram. That defines the state. That's called the state of the gas. We want to look at bulk macroscopic properties, of which pressure and volume is a complete pair. That's all you need. I think I reminded you that you don't need a third axis for temperature, because we have this equation, PV equals nRT. So if you know P and V, you don't need temperature as another variable. That's called the equation of state. You can use this all the time. Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume, feel free to use PV equals nRT.
Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume. Okay?
I take a box and I put some gas molecules on one side, and there's a partition holding them in that side. Then I remove this partition and I wait a little bit, then I know the gas fills up.
Let's just go through that. So we take a gas at pressure. Yeah, like we're breathing, ladies and gentlemen. We are breathing this example. We are at high pressure. What's around this gas for this description of a gas at high pressure? Oh, it's a container. And how do we have this area next to it? What is described by this professor as a vacuum? Obviously, separated by a barrier, as he described. Yet you will also need a container. But what's that? In the world that Katy Perry went up to an area above our head where this exists next to that. No, that does not happen. If there's no barrier, the gas fills the space. That is to say that if there was a sky vacuum without containment, then the gas you are currently breathing would disperse into the volume equally. It would disperse and we'd have no gas to breathe. Oh, go ahead.
Or to quote the other video that we've played before, it would fill the available volume. I love how he says that.
Yeah.
Now that's like perfume leaking out of the bottle. Hot and cold, when mixed, will never separate back into hot and cold.
What he's describing now is the irreversibility of the nature of entropic dispersion. So when you let perfume out, you can't grab it again and put it back in the bottle. Same with the gas. If the sky was a vacuum, then the first particle of gas would be like the perfume. It would come out of the ground, dissipate into the sky vacuum to never return. It wouldn't be around for you to breathe. It would disperse into the vacuum. So would the second particle. So would the third particle. And Earth, if it gave off gas, would just be like the perfume he's describing. We wouldn't have gas pressure because it wouldn't have anything to press on. If the sky was a vacuum, it would just be an area of volume for the gas to disperse into. For us to never
I have a contention
pressure.
on this point, Nathan, if you have a moment.
Say again, Rich?
Said I have a contention on this point for you, if you have a moment.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
If it's the case that you can't have high pressure next to low pressure, why do we have high pressure closer to the surface of the Earth and then significantly lower pressure where you would say it would be pressing against the container?
Well, to have gas pressure in the first place, you can have dynamic systems. That's how we have weather. But in order to achieve dynamic systems, we must first have gas pressure to form those dynamic systems that you're describing.
But the idea here is that that's a superseding of what you would call the second law of thermodynamics, because the higher pressure and the lower pressure are not being equalized, right?
Yeah, they are. That's the whole point. That's called weather. That's wind.
Right. So for some reason
so it
can
does. So you just said
supersede
it
the second
won't.
law of thermodynamics, but the globe can't.
Stop. Hello. I've just addressed you and you're wrong. And you're just waffling through me in response to me correcting you. So those processes happen, but they wouldn't happen if we didn't have any gas pressure in the first place. So first you have gas pressure, then you have gas pressure dissipation, in this case, gradiated pressure, that you're trying to appeal to. But you've got to have gas pressure in the first place. That's the point.
All I'm pointing out is that there's a double standard on whether or not the second law of thermodynamics applies to gases moving from high pressure to low pressure.
That is the second time. You've not responded to me a second time. I've just pointed this out. That is the second law. That is gas dispersing, isn't it? High pressure going to low pressure is wind, isn't it?
You would be...
That's a yes or a no question.
Utilizing
it's a yes or no question.
Circular logic.
Yes or no question. So that is entropy. What you're describing to say that's a contradiction to entropy? No, that's a direct example of entropy. You're just wrong. You're starting to piss me off.
I guess in that
you don't
case,
stutter, just acknowledge what I've said. I'm correct. Don't stutter, just acknowledge what I've said. That's a direct example of entropy. High pressure to low pressure is used.
I disagree.
So you're saying high pressure dispersing into low pressure wind is not entropic dispersion? Yeah, it is.
Oh, I was talking to the grander point. I wasn't talking about.
There is no grander point. You just exampled high pressure to low. No, shut up. That's not a grander point that you made. You made a point about high pressure to low pressure in the example system that's already at pressure. You've not addressed what I've put back to you. You've got to have pressure in the first place for that system that absolutely, without question, examples entropic dispersion.
But
high
I
pressure,
thought the
still
justification
talking,
for why-
still talking. Is losing badly and making stupid assertions that are wrong irritating to you when I correct them? You're wrong. You've described high pressure going to low pressure. You haven't addressed the fact that we must have pressure in the first place, which would have never developed if the sky was a vacuum. You haven't addressed what I've said. I've corrected you. It's an example of entropic dispersion that you're giving me and saying it's a contradiction. It's an example of it. Do you want to acknowledge that before waffling through me?
Oh, yeah, sure. Wind is entropy.
Yes, so shut up, you stupid, ignorant idiot. So you've just wasted everybody's time by saying it's a contradiction then? Idiot.
I didn't say
Yeah,
that
you
wind
did,
is a
dickhead.
contradiction.
Sit down and shut up.
I mean,
sit down and shut
it
up.
doesn't make sense.
Shut up.
It doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. You've described entropic dispersion.
Pressure next to low pressure.
Shut up.
Only on a flat Earth.
Retard, shut
because
up.
You need.
Shut your mouth, dumbass. You've been shown to be wrong and you haven't acknowledged. You haven't thanked me
in a
for correcting
conversation
you.
about this.
Can you shut your mouth? You've been shown to be
Somebody's
wrong. You haven't
shut him
acknowledged
up.
how wrong. Now you're just waffling through me. What a prick.
That
Hello,
wasn't me.
prick. I'm telling you, not asking. Shut your dumb mouth. You've told me that an example of entropic dispersion, high pressure too low, is actually the contradiction that I'm not, dealing with? You were wrong, idiot. Why aren't you acknowledging how bleeding wrong you were? Yeah,
No,
it is
this
an
straw man
example
is
of
probably
entropy.
the worst of them so far.
It's rhetorical, you stupid dumbass. It's
That's
an example of entropic dispersion. High pressure to low. They say, yeah, that's... Yeah, you were saying it's a contradiction of that. Now, what about acknowledgement of the fact that we've got to have pressure to begin with? If the area of volume was a vacuum, then we'd never have developed pressure to have this argument where an idiot doesn't understand that his example of high pressure moving to low is entropy. Is
Why is that the
entropic
case if Earth
dispersion.
is a-
Why am I
is a
getting
dynamic
yammered
system?
through by a wanker? Wanker, I'm
'Cause you're
talking.
rambling.
Wanker, it's my fucking show.
I know, but
So shut up, you stupid,
I
ignorant
thought you wanted
dumbass.
to debate the topic.
What
not to
an
preach.
arsehole. You're just wrong. You've said that high pressure going to low pressure defies what I've described when gas
No,
fills
that's another
space.
straw man.
Now you're just talking through me.
Yeah, because you're lying about me.
How did you think there was a debate in the topic when your example of high pressure to low pressure requires pressure? How do you have pressure? You can't have one without.
No, but
demand,
this is just
unless you
circular
Now he's
law.
talking through Chocolate. What a wanker. Before Chocolate got to the end of the point that demolishes his, he's already talking through him. So you're not going
That's
to do
what
it
he's
to me.
doing.
You're not going to do it to Chocolate. You're just an asshole.
I'm sorry you don't like to be responded to, Nathan.
No,
Gas fills
we like
space
to be-
in all examples. Without exception, gas fills space. It's a law of nature. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. Like high pressure would go to low pressure, like in my opponent's example that he didn't acknowledge how wrong he was about. Now I've addressed
But if
you.
it's a dynamic
And what
system,
you've
it doesn't
done in the
necessarily
middle
go
of
from
my
high to low,
conclusion
right?
is started talking through the top of me, effectively muting my
You
conclusion.
already made a point.
So now
and
you're
defending that
continuing
point.
to
This is
mute
how
my
a conversation
conclusion.
works.
And I haven't finished or invited a response. But being a wanker, you've decided that you're going to talk through the end of the conclusion. I utilised
That's your
your...
strategy.
Now
You
you're
don't
still
invite
talking
a
through my
response.
conclusion. It's the third time you've done it because you're an asshole. Are you going to tell me I'm rambling on my own show? So in conclusion, rhetorical, my friend, rhetorical. In conclusion, I'll use
Don't-
my opponent's example
All
of
you
wind.
ask are rhetorical questions.
Rich, shut
Gas fills space. It's a statement of fact. It's a law of nature. Not a rhetorical question.
Evenly?
A statement of fact.
Evenly? It fills it
It's like, yes, gas fills space. It's a law of nature, and you're asking me about whether or not it does it evenly. My example will be your example. High pressure moving to low pressure.
What? How is that an...
My example is your example of high pressure moving to low pressure.
Right, but
Yeah, right. So sit down, you dumbass ball-believing clown. You've been defeated. Right you are. Yeah, right. Yeah, so you don't get to yammer through me like a disingenuous, ignorant baller. Yeah, I know I'm right, dumbass.
Does it do that evenly
we
if you
still
don't have
haven't
the container?
Yeah, does he do that evenly without a frigging container, dum-dum? Does he do that evenly? Yeah, right. Yeah, so I am right, but I don't need to be asked about whether I do it evenly. Yeah, it will disperse into space. It's a law of nature.
well, if it doesn't do it even,
Not if, it's a law of nature, you utter clown who isn't acknowledging a single smegging word I say. You're whistling past every word I say and yammering and chanting through me and moaning about it like I don't want to debate you. No, it's not an if statement, it's a law of nature. Gas fills space.
Yeah, the
you gonna
evenly
let me
thing
speak,
doesn't
or are you
really
just gonna
matter,
cry?
bro. Because if the gas is doing anything, it's doing something because it's contained. Because to have pressure in the first place, you need a container. That's literally the definition of gas pressure. The force the gas exerts on the wall.
This is you engaging in the
Yeah, before Chocolate's finished his statement, the guy's waffling through the top so he doesn't have to acknowledge what Chocolate's saying because he's being absolutely pummeled. His only response is to talk while we're talking, to cause audio chaos and annoy us. So this is the last bastion of these idiot ballers. All right, I can't respond to a law of nature, so I'm going to put it into an if statement and then chant through every word you say so I don't have to respond to you. You're not a reasonable opponent, sir. You haven't acknowledged a single word you've had in defeat of your position. You just keep talking through everyone.
because I haven't been defeated.
Yeah, gas
You
fills
haven't
space.
addressed
The
it.
sky's not a vacuum. I don't need any help, Neil. Maybe you hadn't picked up on that fact. Don't need any help. Gas fills space. That is me winning by destroying your sky vacuum.
Moderating your own debate makes you look like you lose.
So gas fills space. It's a law of nature. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we are breathing would have dispersed into that area of volume.
What if it's a dynamic system?
Then we'd need containment to form the pressure in the first place. I've already said it.
Why?
Because gas has to press on something to be at pressure.
Yeah, it could press against.
Yeah, it'd have to press on something, so it'd need a frigging container.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if the sky was a vacuum, we'd have no gas to breathe.
who says it has to be a physical container?
So we'd need a container. Yeah, that's right. It needs to be physical, otherwise you wouldn't be pressing on it. If it's not physical, you can't press on it.
Kind of sounds like.
So does it need to be a tangible container?
So what we can't have is a sky vacuum. The sky's not a vacuum because you can't press on a vacuum. You don't press on vacuums, gas disperses into them. Therefore, the sky is not a vacuum. I don't give a toss what you want to question me about with regards to what contains the gas. It must be under containment. It's at pressure. That goes without saying. Meanwhile, if the sky was a vacuum, we'd all be dead.
You haven't shown that.
Yeah, because gas fills space. It's a law of nature.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So it would fill the space. It's a law of nature, you utter retard. So do we need to show it? It's a law of nature. Gas fills space. So if the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. It's not a vacuum.
Crybaby.
Sorry, is your response to me pointing out the sky not being a vacuum to call me a crybaby?
Yeah, because you're repeating the same thing.
What, the winning argument that the sky's not a vacuum, there's no outer space to travel to, Katy Perry and all her nonsense, hasn't deceived the masses, because the sky's not a vacuum, that's the overarching lie that needs to be maintained by talking about a door that holds in pressure when they're looking back on high-pressure gas not filling a vacuum in direct violation of the law of nature known as the second law of thermodynamics. That's not me crying, it's me debunking an entire worldview. Do you want to tell me I'm crying again as a rebuttal?
You crying.
Sorry, you telling me I'm crying is an ad hominem attack and non sequitur. It's also not true I am not crying. So that is a failure. Telling me that I am moderating my own debate so I can be perceived to win, when your response is to tell me that I'm crying, in the face of a law of nature that you've affirmed with your own argumentation points. You telling me about wind and how high pressure goes to low pressure isn't really you achieving anything other than yammering through me right now. Why are you doing that?
All you do is ignore the opposition.
So you told me that high pressure went to low, and I pointed out that that would be you acknowledging that dispersion laws of entropy apply. You said yes.
Is that all you heard me say?
Is that all I heard you do? Acknowledge how you got defeated by me using your own argument against you? You've just told me I don't acknowledge anything in the argument, and yet I've used your own argument and your own words against you with your position. Yeah, that's absolutely me winning with your point. All you've done is yammer through every single defeat that I've put you through with your own words. You don't acknowledge any of the defeats that you've suffered here when I disprove a sky vacuum. What you can do is mute me in the middle of me saying these things, though, by talking through me. You've managed that quite successfully. You've also managed quite a few ad hominem attacks by telling me that I'm crying rather than addressing the second law of thermodynamics. You've affirmed it with high pressure to low pressure. So you're not winning. I am. You're using multiple fallacies and talking through me to try and mute me. To what?
Pointing out that you're crying is not a fallacy.
Right, you talking through the end of every statement that I make is you muting me.
I'm sorry, man. You said that he's ignoring the opposition. The opposition only had basically questions.
That's the best.
Chocolate's got about 4 words out, and this guy's decided it's his turn to talk. Just keeps talking through him. His only tactic, this arsehole, is to keep talking through everybody who's addressing him so he doesn't have to address anything that they say. Because he knows that listening to anything we've actually got to say in its entirety will result in anything he says being used against him and his position being taken to pieces. So his only response at this point is to constantly yammer through everything that's being said.
Yeah, projection is real, Nathan.
Everybody and asking how I'm muting you. How I'm muting you if I'm speaking over you? How I'm muting you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, bro. The problem is you said that.
How I can hear your argument if I'm speaking over you? Can you tell me, Rich?
It's a good question, isn't it? Why does Nathan keep over-talking me then?
How I can hear your argument if I speak over you?
So what's happened is
you said Nathan was ignoring the opposition. So far, the opposition has only had questions about what happens after the concession. So does this happen in a dynamic system? Does this happen evenly? Does the container have to be physical? I mean, all these things require the container in the first place. You get that? So he's not ignoring anything. We're going by your concession that it requires a container. Like
exactly.
You even said.
You're begging the question. You're begging the question that it's a tangible
container. Do you have
container.
an example of opposite, that there is no container for any demonstration of that? Then we will discuss these things.
No, it's not begging the question. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. You've got to have pressure with it pressing. So it's antecedent consequent. It doesn't beg the question to say that in order to be at pressure, you must be pressing upon something.
Yeah,
so
if there's pressure, 14.7
Sasha,
PSI,
you have any
Sasha,
level,
Sasha,
that's pressing against the ground, right?
The gas expands in all directions, not just downward. So it'd have to press.
Unless it's a dynamic system, which would stop it from continuing.
Maybe you could just mute me. Maybe you can just mute me by talking through me.
Oh my God, what a fucking cry.
So now you need to swear at me. Yeah, cry, yeah, gas pressure needs something to press on to be at pressure, and gas expands in all directions, not just down. Second time.
How do you measure the gas pressure?
You think that just saying dynamic system it takes away the antecedent that you require for gas pressure, which is a container? You think just saying dynamic system that helps you out?
Yeah,
it's actually worse for you.
First, you have gas pressure. Did the guy run away?
We started cutting him off, so he ran away. Yes, he ran away.
With the existing gas pressure?
Sorry, hold on a second. Say again, Roger.
That was Ranger. He ran away.
Oh, sorry, Ranger.
Yeah, they all run away, never dealing with the existing gas pressure in the first place.
Apparently, having gas.
But while bringing up the gas pressure in the first place by saying high pressure to low pressure. All right, so pressure then. Thanks. Welcome to Flat Earth.
It doesn't have to be physical.
Yeah, it does.
What, the container you said that we don't need? That doesn't have to be? Yeah, container. Thanks. Pressure.
Yeah, because you
I
want
want
to
to
go
see
to
one
gravity.
non-physical container. I want to see one non-physical container. That would be nice.
So in conclusion, gas fills space. Yeah, you can't have gas pressure that we're all breathing without containment. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we're all breathing would fill that space. That's the point of having distraction gate. Yeah, the moment we point out that if our eyes are on the ground looking at the door, we're not looking at the gas that's not filling the area of volume. So up in the high pressure container that they're in, they've got to stop their gas filling that area that they're in. But the gas below, it's cushy, it's fine. It doesn't need any containment. It's just fine lurking around next to a vacuum. In spite of Harvard and Yale making it explicitly clear that that's a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. So what have we got? Clown Shoes here comes in and tells us, nah, it's begging the question to say that you need something to press on to be pressure. No, it isn't. It's an antecedent. You can't be at pressure unless you're pressing on something. Oh, well then just down then. Just down with gravity. That's where that argument was going to be going for that Clown Shoes that didn't shut up and listen to any responses while he projected on me crying while he waffled through every single response he never acknowledged one of. Coward. All of you. So let's hear the conclusion from Yale rather than a clown that doesn't want to shut up.
Out of the bottle won't go back. This gas that came out won't go back. There's a whole lot of processes which we call irreversible.
So gas goes out into the area of volume available to it. Always, without exception, it's a law of nature. And it won't go back. So the first gas particle comes out of the ground in the heliocentric bullshit world of sphere Earth in sky vacuum. The gas comes out and like perfume, it leaks out of the bottle and won't go back. So it's not going to form pressure because it's not pressing on anything. It's dispersing into the volume that you all think the sky vacuum is. We'd never be breathing if the sky was a vacuum.
They never seem to happen backwards. They only happen forwards. And we cannot list all of them.
I will take... Yeah, that's my conclusion. I've already given it during the process itself. Any last comments?
Yeah, I never thought I would hear winning as crying.
Any more for any more?
Why pressure does not equalize everywhere the same?
Dynamic systems must be
I was just
under pressure.
I was just going to say that, unless it's a dynamic system.
Oh, Jesus, we have dynamic system.
Yes. Right, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels, and of course a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.